I can hear some other noise in the background, Chair.
Yeah, I can.
We are live now, Chair.
Indeed. Right, let's start. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and members of the public and councillors. Welcome to this evening's Development Management meeting. Do we have any apologies? I don't believe we do. No, I think everybody is here. Any declarations of interest, councillors?
Yes, Chair. Items 7 and 8, I've got non-pecuniary interest as I'm a ward councillor for those areas.
Councillor Souter.
Thank you, Chair. Non-pecuniary interest on 9 and 10 as the Essex County Councillor for that area.
Thank you. Councillor Garnett.
Yeah, items 7 and 8 as County Councillor, non-pecuniary interested.
Councillor Clark, if you could unmute yourself. Councillor Clark, you need to unmute yourself. You're on mute, Councillor Clark. There you go.
Right. Non-pecuniary interest in 9 Hillcrest as a local councillor.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Okay. I'll open this one up.
Oh, and also, sorry, and also the work of art.
10. Okay. Minutes, pages 4 to 7 of your agenda. Are they agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you. Any matters arising? No. No written questions. Item 6, procedure for tonight's meeting. Planning officer will present a report. Comments will then be taken from members of the public who have registered in advance with government support, or alternatively have submitted a written statement, maximum 450 words or 3 minutes, 3 for an application, 3 against an application. Comments will then be invited from the applicant or agent, again, who needs to have registered 24 hours in advance and is again limited to either 3 minutes or 450 words in a written statement. We'll then move to councillors' clarifications and questions, and then councillors' debate, and then a decision will be taken on each of the applications. So if we could move to agenda item 7, I believe this is being presented by Patricia, is that correct?
Yes, Chair, thank you. I'm just getting the slideshow. Oh, can you see that on your screens?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Members will recall that they have seen this application previously at January committee when they resolved to approve the scheme. The reason why it's coming back to this committee is purely because of a error in the consultation, and that has now been resolved and rectified. The proposal has no changes to it. I'm happy to go through the slides, but otherwise, if there are any questions, Chair.
I think the presentation's fine. As you say, we only did it a month ago, and there is a supplementary agenda, members, which I'm sure you have all read. So if we can come out of full screen. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have 2 speakers for this application. Mr. Joe Cornt, speaking for the application. Joe, you'll have 3 minutes as soon as you're ready.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of this application. I spoke in the January Planning Committee, but for those of you who weren't present, my name is Joe Cornt. I'm the Acquisitions Manager who represents Lidl's property expansion plans within Harlow. The purpose of speaking this evening is to simply reiterate Lidl's unwavering commitment to opening a store in this location. The project has been running since receiving our board approval for this multi-million-pound investment way back in March 2018. So an extra month certainly won't deter us. I will, however, give you the benefit of keeping this succinct by summarising the key benefits of permitting the Lidl application in 3 bullet points. So firstly, it's a multi-million-pound investment into a retail unit that's been left vacant for over 2 years. Secondly, it's an increased affordable food offering in a time when the family budget has been incredibly stretched, whilst increasing the overall food offering in the area. And finally, it's an immediate boost of 45 jobs in the local area within a company that adheres to the living wage, doesn't tolerate zero-hour contracts, and supports the progression of their staff. So in terms of timescales, Lidl will commence recruitment and training immediately following the expiry of the judicial review period in anticipation of hopefully opening the store in the late summer of this year. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Joe. And Craig Blatchford, the agent.
Thank you, Chair, members. Thanks for the opportunity to speak again this evening. As your officer said, the application before you tonight is identical to the one you approved on the 13th of January and is represented to you only to address a potential procedural oversight by your officers. I'd like to thank your officers, particularly for their diligence and hard work to address this issue, and thank members for their patience. Joe has outlined Lidl's existing and proposed commitment to Harlow and their intent to deliver new jobs, investment and new employment opportunities as soon as possible by their reoccupation of the existing vacant former Toys R Us store. These economic benefits are fully recognised by your regeneration department, who are supporting the application. I reaffirm tonight on behalf of the Crown Estate, the owners of the park, that despite the further delays, they remain absolutely committed to delivering this additional store for Lidl and investing in Harlow. It remains the case that the Crown Estate and Lidl are ready to commence work as soon as possible with a view to opening this summer if you approve the application again tonight. Since the last hearing of the application, your external retail advisors have followed up their advice and reconfirmed that whilst the proposals will impact some centres, in most cases this will be so low as to be de minimis, and in any event there will be no significant adverse impact on any centre, the key policy test. Set against this, proposals will deliver further consumer choice in terms of food retailing, and to quote your regeneration officer, would provide additional employment for the town and help to replace at least some of the many retail jobs that have been lost as a result of the impact of COVID measures and the longer term trends in the town. Therefore, we concur with your officer's recommendation and respectfully invite you once again to approve this application tonight so that the Crown Estate and Lidl can move forward to deliver this new store as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blatchford. Members, any questions? Councillor Clark.
Well, Chair, I'd like to suggest that as this is only here because of a procedural oversight, there's been no fundamental changes at all. We discussed it at length last time, and that we should proceed fairly quickly to the vote.
Agreed.
Vote, are you?
Agreed.
Seconded?
Agreed.
Agreed to go to the vote?
Agreed.
Okay.
No.
No. Councillor Davis.
Yes, Chair. I'd just like to say, I mean, I voted against this last time. I've got nothing against Lidl's, and I certainly welcome us having more jobs at proper rates of pay. But as I said last time, my concern is the safety aspect of this. When the 7A junction comes online, the amount of traffic that comes down through there, unless we get another river crossing, which we're trying to fight for, it's going to be a dangerous area to drive. And I still think it's wrong. Now, I'm a ward councillor, so it's not going to go down well for me, but I still think there's a safety issue there. And I think if I suggested last time, we looked at where else it could have gone. But on the grounds of safety, I still object to it. So I've got to stay with that because of what I said last time. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Garnett.
Yeah, sorry. Councillor Davis, there is a second river crossing going in from Gilston Park. So, and that comes out by River Way. So it would be a way away from here. So you should have seen that in the various meetings we've had with the Harlow Gilston Town Garden Park. Thank you.
That's not been agreed yet.
No, correct. Anyway, are we moving to the vote, members?
Agreed. Agreed.
All those in favour of recommendations 1 to 6 and informative 1, which appear on pages 23 and 24 of your agenda papers? And against? Okay, that is carried substantively. Thank you very much, gentlemen. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. You're also welcome to leave should you wish to. Thank you. Moving down the agenda item 9, St James's Centre. Gavin, I believe you are presenting this one.
That is correct. Right, the application here is a variation of conditions from existing permission. Basically, it's 10 the St James's Centre, East Road, Harlow. It's to allow the range, to allow them to sell some food and drink items, an ancillary range of food and drink items. St James Centre is part of a series of retail warehouses next to Tesco's. Just want to say quickly that my presentation is got a number of words, but that's because there's not many plans associated with this application, because it is a just a variation of condition on an existing unit. So coming to the proposal, the existing store is over 5,000 square metres gross with the garden centre, and it seeks to vary condition 3 to allow food and drink. And this is a result of the partnership between the range and Iceland. Proposal will allow the sale of food and drink for consumption off premises across a maximum sale area of 250 square metres net. So there'll be essentially food and drink goods, frozen goods cabinets, perishable items. As you can see, they're soap, loo rolls, very similar. They're just they act as a supplier. So you'll see on the supplemental agenda, there's more information that's been submitted by the applicant, which confirms that the role of Iceland here is as of the supplier. It's similar to them stocking products from a particular manufacturer applies to a current sale of branded goods. There will be no separate freezers or staff, no financial operational interest except as a supplier. Prominence will be given to the Iceland goods in the store, obviously, because they want to maximise sales. And Iceland have given an indication they have no intention of closing down or downgrading stores. So the issue here is that Iceland is integral to the range, and so as you'll be aware, this shows the existing building, its context, with car parking in front. So in terms of the determination, as members will be aware, the application has to be determined in accordance with the development plan unless material considerations indicate otherwise. Policy PR10 allows A1, which is now at 8 Class E, within outside town outside town centres, when in stores that sell bulk goods. So therefore, the issues are, as with the previous one, a sequential test, but you have to first do whether the Iceland on its own can be disaggregated from the wider store of 5,200 square metres. And as I've said and made it quite clear that the relationship here between Iceland and the range is one of a supplier. So therefore, you can't take the Iceland out. You can't look at it on its own. So therefore, in terms of the sequential test, you need to look at the sequential test has to be looked at on the basis of the 5,000 square metre store, subject to flexibility. We've had our own retail advice from a retail expert who's concluded that one, disaggregation is not it can't be done, and secondly that there would be that there's no sequentially better locations for this whole store to go. And then next question is, would it have an impact on vitality and viability? And as I've said, is that it's a top up, it's integral, so there will be no issue in terms of impact on vitality and viability of other centres, because it essentially be people already using the range who tend to get some other goods like loo roll, for instance, when they're looking at things to go in their garden, for instance. So it's not, and you've got to bear in mind this is only a very small area. It's only 250 square meters out of a store of over 5,000 square meters. So in terms of impact, the impact is very, very small. So on that basis, the recommendation is to grant, subject to the condition, subject in terms of the variation to the condition. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have no speakers on this item, members. So questions? Councillor Garnett.
Just as a personal one, really, because they're now selling frozen food, raw food. Are they going to be caught by the hygiene and safety rules? I know it's not a planning issue. It's a personal question.
I wouldn't want to comment on that matter, but I would guess they'd have to deal with health and safety and hygiene like any other store would do.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Holcote.
In a roundabout manner, would there be need for a food trolley system if they're having frozen good cabinets? Would they need trolleys to allow people to get the goods out of the freezer side and then take them around the store? Would that be part of the deal? Because I haven't seen that in the report. Thank you, Chair.
The simple answer is I don't know, but looking at the range of goods that the range does sell, they do actually sell some smaller items like craft stuff, things for your garden. So I guess they already have some form of trolley or basket system. So I guess there'll be no change to that, and we have had no indication that there would be a change necessary with regard to their existing arrangements.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Debate? No? Fairly straightforward. We're happy to move to the vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Move the vote, Chair.
Yes. So the recommendations 1 to 3 and informative 1 to 3 on pages 34 and 35 of your agendas. All those in favour? That appears unanimous to me. Yeah. Thank you very much. Moving on, agenda item, whatever the next one is, Hillcrest. Gavin, do you want to present this one?
Yes, I will. There we go. Right. Hillcrest. The proposal is for two-bed chalet bungalows, study, car parking, amenity space and landscaping at Hillcrest, Harbour's Road, Harlow. The existing site, identified here in red, forms a group of six existing bungalows. Quite interesting. The character is quite uniform in terms of the area. And that was being picked up in 2 appeals, both the one to the rear of Ebenezer and one on this site. And I'll go through that in a bit more detail in a bit. Members should also note there is quite a change in levels between the Hillcrest and the rear of the site, and also to Coxwood. There's about 0.3 of a metre difference between these 2 properties, and there is a slope here. So I'll go through the proposal in terms of the appeals. Firstly, go through the appeal scheme, which was dismissed in August, I think it was. So in terms of the appeal scheme was for 2 detached 2-storey houses. They were set 1.2 metres from the boundary, as you can see here, in a similar location to the current proposal. This shows the elevations. The height of the properties were 8 metres, and they were 8.8 by 9.8 metres in size, detached, set only 1.2 metres from the boundary. That application was dismissed, and the inspector basically said they were too big. They were too big, out of character, and you'll note what I said about the prevailing character being bungalows. So coming to the current proposal, you can see they're now a semi-detached pair with no gap between them. The gap has gone from 1.2 metres to 3 metres off the boundary. And coming to the height of the property, the height has come down to 6.2 metres, and the total width is 15.3 by 9.6 metres. So you can see they've squished them down and come down in size. The next slide shows this quite clearly, shows the red outline of the previously refused scheme compared to the current scheme. So you can see there's been quite a dramatic change in the scale of the buildings. So in terms of the issues with the determination, I'll just quickly go through the actual relationship side. So this shows the relationship to Foxwood from the application site. Foxwood is slightly higher up. And then this shows looking back towards the property at the front to the right-hand side. And this shows the property from the front. So the existing building is set back. You have to go up a slight ridge before you get back to that. So coming to the main issues. The main issue is the principle of development in terms of the principle of backland development, the impact on the character and appearance of the area, and the impact on adjoining neighbours. So in terms of the principle of development, the inspector held, when dismissing the appeal, that infill was acceptable if of a suitable scale. And this comes to the point about the new policies in the local plan, which allow infill development if they're an acceptable design, policies PL1 and policy H2, which do not preclude infill development. The issue is simply whether the site is of a suitable size and the development doesn't cause harm in terms of the wider character. And then coming to that, so therefore, in principle, residential development in this location is acceptable and is in accordance with policy. Coming on to the second issue, which is the impact on the character and appearance of the area, the footprint of the building has been reduced from 172.5 square metres to 146.9 square metres, and the height has been reduced by 1.8 metres, and has been set from the boundaries from 1.2 to 3 metres. The design has also changed in terms of being shallow bungalows, and the design and scale of the buildings are now of a similar scale to the ones adjoining, and are now bungalows essentially. So in terms of the impact on the character and appearance of the area, this is considered to be acceptable. So coming to the third issue, which is the impact on the amenity of the adjoining neighbours. You can see from this plan, the properties are at a substantial distance from Drummoyne and Hillcrest, and St Lawrence, which are on the frontage of Harbots Road. So there would be no detrimental impact on the amenity of those properties. The primary impact would be on the impact of Foxwood, and it's considered because of the distance between the properties and their orientation. And as you saw from the photograph that I put up, Foxwood is slightly raised up, so that reduces the impact of these properties on that property. So it's considered that it would not cause detrimental impact on the amenity of Foxwood. So on the basis of those issues and the report set out, the recommendation is to grant. Thank you, members.
Thank you, Gavin. We have one speaker, which is the agent, Mr. Corcoran. Mr. Corcoran, are you there?
Hello, good evening, Chair and members. Can you hear me okay?
We can, yeah. You'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. Chair, members of the Planning Committee, thank you for this opportunity to address you this evening. We've just had a very comprehensive officer presentation, and indeed there's a very comprehensive officer report on in front of you. We'd thank the officers for working with us to prepare this resubmission of a scheme. I'll just seek to add a couple of points, if I may. We strongly believe, as do your officers, feel that the scheme as submitted successfully responds to the inspector's comments. The building is sited approximately 10 metres away from the flank wall of Foxwood next door. The height is, the ridge height of the properties are indeed lower than Foxwood, and the scheme represents a 40% decrease in volume compared to the previous scheme. There's also been a significant reduction in footprint and additional landscaping provided throughout. We firmly believe that the scheme represents a true form of sustainable development, provides high quality new family housing, which is well needed, has an acceptable impact on the character and appearance of the area, and does not prejudice impact on neighbouring amenity. I'm happy to answer any questions if that would be helpful, but once again, thank you for listening to me. Chair and members would respectfully ask you to endorse your professional officer's advice. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Corcoran. Questions, members? Councillor Souter.
Thank you, Chair. In the report, there was an issue regarding the refuge collection. Can you show us on the drawings where the bin stores will be kept now?
Can you put
please?
the drawing back up, please?
Yep. Okay. So the bin store will go at the entrance of Harbour's Road. So you can see here, there's a bit here. So in this location here, there is a bit. There will be a bin store. So
thank you.
Yeah. Is that okay?
Yep.
Thank you. Any other questions, Councillor Hardware?
Thank you, Chair. The officer said in his presentation that there would be no detrimental impact on, was it Foxwood or Foxglove, the property? Can I just question on that? How does he describe as no detrimental effect? If there was a building built right in front or right next to my property, how is that no detrimental effect? It should be limited, perhaps, or little, but certainly not no detrimental effect.
I think that was a comment, not a question. Councillor Garnett?
Yeah, probably was, yes.
Thank you, Chair. Couple of, well, one question and one perhaps whinge a little bit. Gavin, I don't know who took the photographs. The actual site is bereft of photographs that we could make a good decision on. It's a shame, really, because we could have had a lot more, so we could view the picture of the site, the geographical. The other thing was, so that's just a whinge on that side of it. On page 38, details of the proposal. Just clarification here. Third paragraph down. Due to the slope of the site, the new dwellings would be situated 3.2 metres below the level of Hillcrest. I've driven up there for a long time, but I thought it went from the roadway, it went up. I'm wondering how you still get above Hillcrest and be 3.2 metres lower. Is that correct?
Councillor Garnett, can I clarify that for you? It definitely goes down.
Is it?
Yeah.
It goes down the back?
My ward borders
okay.
definitely goes down.
Yes.
Quite
yes, back into Collins Meadow.
Yes.
Right, okay. Thank you.
Councillor Holcote.
Thank you, Chair. When we saw the slides, we saw a lot of brambles. Is that the area of the land that we are potentially looking at? Because if that is the case, it's very difficult to assess how big that mass is. I know we've got it in the math side of it, but visually to see it, if there's brambles there now, it's very difficult to see. So is that the actual site that we're supposed to be thinking about here? Chair, thank you.
Thank you.
The answer to that question is yes. The site is extremely overgrown, and that explains why there are a limited number of photos, because the site is so overgrown. So the photographs wouldn't have shown very much. There is this slope across the site, and there has been a detailed tree survey that has identified anything that would be kept of merit, and there is obviously a landscaping condition as well being proposed as part of this scheme.
So, Chair, it's difficult to determine, surely the hedge, the tree you can see obviously, but a lot of the hedge and stuff around it, if the brambles are that thick, how do we determine the scape at this stage and go forward with conditions, recommendation 3?
Well, look, fundamentally,
because they'll have to cut it all back in.
Fundamentally, the site's totally overgrown, so you can have more photos for a totally overgrown site if you like. It's still going to be totally overgrown. And the key points I think you need to factor in is the topography of the site, e.g. the fact that it is substantially lower than the other building, and what harm you think that may make on it. I mean, we could have taken a million photos of bushes, but they would have looked like a bush overgrown in his back garden. Councillor Garnett.
One more question now. Now it's the topography of it. Is how far is the new dwellings from the rear of the Collins Meadow buildings?
Collins Meadows at the bottom of the hill, so quite a long way.
Yeah, so quite a long way. So what is it? That distance there is was it 3 foot? Was it? Let's say that distance was 3.2 meters, something like that. So Collins Meadow is a long way. Yeah, so this is a significant distance away at the bottom.
I'm guessing it's at least 12, 15 meters away.
Is it? Yeah, it maybe again we should have been concentrating on that, as they're overlooked.
Sorry, also, and there is also substantial number of trees at the bottom here. So there's quite a lot of trees all along these boundaries, and there is a landscaping condition to ensure that that those trees of merit will be retained, but also so that privacy can be maintained with adjoining neighbours.
Councillor Danvers.
Could I ask, Chair, on the page 41, gather that there are 4 objections. Could we actually be told the addresses of the 4 objectors, please?
Yep.
Sorry, I should have given a bit more notice of this. Sorry.
The objectors were from the adjoining residents, from Foxwood, from Drummoyne, and I can find the exact addresses out if you need that.
No Collins Meadow.
No, not Collins Meadow.
No. Okay.
Okay. Any more questions, members? Councillor Souter.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quickie. The road surface leading to these new bungalows, what is the surface going to be? Is it going to be tarmac or cement or what?
That is a matter for the developer. If you members do wish, we can amend the condition on terms of the landscaping condition, so that that includes that detail in terms of the detail of the materials for the hard surface materials.
Yeah.
Okay, shall we move to debate? Councillor Danvers.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I would probably object to this if it wasn't for Foxwood, because I gather, in fact, Foxwood was built in the mid-90s, and it's exactly the same kind of development in principle. Could we be very clear, as far as I'm concerned, backland development does not lend itself to an area. It does not enhance the area, and if the applicant actually thinks it does, they should think again. However, because of the existence of Foxwood, I find the decision very difficult. The inspector's report has been gone along with, so I find it a difficult decision, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Danvers. Councillor Clark.
Well, I disagree with that, really, Chair. I think there's very little I'd still comment on use the inspector's comments in rejecting it. And the majority of residents in the surrounding houses have also objected, of course. Admittedly, it is considerably reduced size, but as the inspector says, holding on to that criticism, it does disturb the local character of the area, harms the local character of the area, the sense of openness and spaciousness. the tranquil character, as he called it, in a sense. But so there's a whole the whole ambience of the area. And this is a semi-detached, quite different. It's a semi-detached property. Also, there's an extensive loss of trees. They're always judged to be of poor quality, but that's a sort of par for the course. I'm personally concerned about the loss of the trees. And according to the brief comments that we've got, there is an impact on the local properties as well, which we have to take note of. So I would object to it, Chair.
Thank you. No problem. Councillor Hardware.
Thank you, Chair. I would agree with Councillor Clark and half agree with Councillor Danvers. The inspector, when hearing the appeal last time, was doing it under the previous local plan, but I understand the policies in the new local plan, of course, are not that much different. But it does say that we should allow infill development if it does not harm the character of the area. Now, I disagree with the previous inspector. I think it does harm the I think, you know, carving up the front garden and putting a new road in and putting houses in the garden. I mean, is every substantial garden in Harlow going to ultimately have two houses plonked in it? It does destroy the character of the area. It wasn't designed to have houses in the back there, and I'm going to be voting against this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hardware. Councillor Garnett.
He said that it does harm the character.
Councillor Garnett.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'm never in favour of rear garden infill developments. I just think this does ruin the character of the area, because you've got detached houses all around, and suddenly you put two. You know, I know it's what the inspector has said would be better in some respects. Too small, semi-detached, completely out of character with the rest of it, and they'd be perched. Well, they won't be perched on the hill because it's the other way around. But I just, you know, one substantial house would have been far better, and it would match to what's there. But currently, it looks what it is. Probably one of the worst infill developments I've seen for a long time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Garnett. Anybody else? No.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Halcote, did you want to talk?
Well, yeah, I agree with the other councillors. I think it doesn't do anything for the area. The hedgerow and the trees around it are going to be in trouble, and we're not considering that the other residents in the area either. And I think we've got to turn this one down with the inspector's comments on it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Halcote. Okay, in that case, members, if we could move to the vote. So you have recommendations 1 to 11 and informatives 1 and 2, which appear on pages 46 to 48. All those in favour? And all those against? And that is refused. Reasons for refusals? Somebody define them, please.
Character of the area.
Councillor Hardware is looking up, I can tell.
I've just deleted the bloody thing, haven't I? Oh, for God's sake, come back, you bugger.
Loss of trees.
Overdevelopment?
Did he?
No. It's totally out of character with the area of the.
Yeah, is the main one, isn't it?
Well, I didn't expect this. Otherwise, I'd have got the local plan out. Had a look at the plan. Yeah.
And the loss of trees, I would say.
In a way, it is overdevelopment, is it? It's underdevelopment, but overdevelopment. Yeah. With two small bungalows on it.
Yeah.
Policies that we're referring to.
Nearly getting there.
Has Mike got them there as he's looking them up?
Working on them.
Trouble is, we've got.
Surely the officers can help us with this.
Yeah.
It's policy PL1 and H2.
Yeah.
PL1 and H2.
Okay, Chair, through you, would it be okay if we refused it if the reason read as the proposal by reason of the design as a semi-detached, as a pair of semi-detached houses would be out of character with the visual amenities of the area? The proposal would therefore be contrary to policies PL1, H2 of the newly adopted plan.
H2, L1, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Remember, keep them open next time.
Yep.
Moving on. That is refused. Obviously, anybody that came for that, you're welcome to leave. You can stay for the rest of the meeting should you wish to. Gavin, I believe you are presenting the proposed site of the Public Art St Mary's Church.
Sorry, I'll on mute. So application is for an installation of public art at St Mary's Church, Parran Mill Lane, Harlow. The application site is the wall that surrounds the church. The church is Grade 2 listed. The proposal is an installation of a piece of public art, as you can see, part of a Section 106 as part of Harlow Rugby Club, the scheme to the south. It's been through a competition with the Harlow Art Trust, and they've selected and commissioned work. The design is for a take on the Lynch Gate. It'll be 3.4 metres high, 1.3 metre on 1.3 metre piers. The gap is about 1.5 metres, and the twist is is 1 metre. So that shows a bit more detail of the piers, etc. And it shows the location of the where the art will go, and it shows a bit more in terms of the wider context in terms of where it is in relation to the housing site. And the application site is actually beyond where I've sit here. It's sort of on the other side here. So coming to the issue, and I didn't mention that the design of the art would be made of Corten steel, which is a low carbon steel, which then rusts and will be very similar to the tiles of the church. So the main issue here is the impact on the setting of St Mary's Church. There is several steps that members need to go through. Is what is the significance of the heritage assets, and then step 2, whether the development harms that significance. St Mary's Church, the significance is from the design and the age of the building, and then in terms of what is the harm is visual, and we've taken advice from the heritage officer, and they have advised that the art in terms of the design mirrors the colour of the clay tiles. On that basis, the impact is considered to be less than substantial, and planning permission would be in accordance with PL 12, and therefore planning permission should be granted. Thank you, members.
Thank you. Okay, we have 3 speakers for this application. So if we could start with Kate Harding. Kate, you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. So my name is Kate. I'm here on behalf of Harlow Art Trust, which is the charity that was established in 1953 to commission and care for public art in Harlow. The trust role in this case, as has been said, was to act as commissioning agents for the Ramgorse Park development and discharge its Section 106 requirement for public art. This involved working with the developer and St Mary's at Pondon to write an artist brief that was sensitive to the requirements of both stakeholders, advertise the opportunity publicly, and manage the competition to appoint the artist. In defence of the proposal, I'd like to note that the 2 objections that were received during the community consultation were of a highly subjective nature. and that every good work of art has multiple readings and is open to interpretation by a diverse audience. So while the two objections in question were unfavourable, there have been a great many positive interpretations that can and have already been made, both formally and informally. So informally, the sculpture has received an overwhelmingly positive response from the community in Ramgorst Park, and formally the proposal has been through the Ecclesiastical Jurisdictions and Care of Churches measure of 2018. So this is analogous to the process of gaining listed building consent, but in this case from the Diocesan Advisory Committee, and the DAC granted permission. As with listed building consent, there's a period of community consultation, and no objections were received. So the proposal has also been reviewed by the Church Buildings Council and also by the Victorian Society. And the Victorian Society is a charity that offers advice about adapting Victorian and wood buildings while keeping what is special about in cases neither objection. So I'm going to keep it short, and in summary, I hope that the committee will agree that the proposal for public art is a welcome addition to the local environment that builds on a lived collection of 101 sculptures in Harlow that has a long history, and a collection that expands and welcomes new residents as the town itself grows. And I also hope, in line with the 2020-2021 corporate plan for Harlow Council, that the committee will grant permission in order to build on and promote Harlow's cultural heritage for the well-being of its residents. Myself, Reverend Joe Key, and the artist David Murphy are here to answer any questions that you've got.
Thank you, Kate. Reverend Joe Key, it's over to you next. 3 minutes.
Okay, I just want to say there was talk about it referencing the Lich Gate. It was actually referencing an old overthrow or arch that we found pictures of on the original church gate. And we're hoping, if the funds would run to it, to restore that as well. So our whole thinking as a church was we got permission to open the wall facing onto the estate because we wanted to be welcoming and not have the people doing a really long walk around the lane and everything. And just adding a piece of art to that was a wonderful thing. And the church itself and the Diocesan Advisory Committee chair were on the competition panel. So we're very much part of the selection process. And so, we liked the idea of the old and the new and the welcoming. So we're very much, in support and excited about it. So, yeah, just wanted to.
David Murphy. Do you want to unmute yourself and turn your camera on? Lovely. You're muted still. You're muted still, David. There you go.
Hello, thank you, Chair, thank you, members, thank you, Kate and Joki. I don't really have a huge amount to add to that, but I'm very happy to answer any specific questions about it and our approach towards installing this artwork. So I'm available for questions.
Lovely, thank you. No more speakers, members. Questions? Councillor Garnett? No? You're going to debate? Okay. Yeah, I think it's fairly straightforward question-wise. Debate then. Who wants to start off? Councillor Holcoop?
Thank you, Chair. I welcome this art because it's innovative, it's modern. As Joki said, you've got the modern and you've got the old. It's a good balance between the two, and I think it's going to enhance the artwork we've got in Harlow anyway, because we've got a variety of statues that we're very proud of, and any artwork that we get that enhances the town, I'm very much welcome, and it's good to see it outside of church as well. and I'm very happy to recommend this as the planning committee tonight, that artwork, whatever type it is a benefit to the public, and there's been a lot of positive reactions to this plan and a lot of the committees that have gone through it. So it's not as if it's something that's been not taken great value in and approved by a lot of different committees. So I welcome this in. Thank you, Chair, and I'll be voting for it. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Garnett.
Thank you, Chair. I think people know me. I'm a bit old-fashioned, and I like things that I can put in right places. And I look at this and I think it's got nothing to do with the housing, and it's got nothing to do with the church. Perhaps that's what modern art is. But when I read in the papers about a pile of bricks or a pile of tires, and I'm not comparing this to those, and I think there's no art in that. It's not modern. And I look at this and I look at some of the words: non-representational, also lively and full of growth and rhyme. And I can't see where it comes from. My simple thoughts, and I mentioned it earlier on, was why couldn't we have a little cross on the top? So at least it represents something. This to me doesn't represent anything. It could be a juggler's ball. Thank you.
Councillor Clark.
Well, I welcome this, Chair, and particularly in relationship to the whole process. I was very pleased indeed to hear that the church, that was going to be my only question, were the church involved in any way? But I thought it was an ideal process. The competition organised by the Arts Trust and the church were fully involved, and as they were unanimous in the panel approach, and the church were part of that, so everybody's happy in that respect. So that's excellent, and it's part of the sculpture of the town trail, and so offers public benefit. So I'm very pleased to support this, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Councillor Livings.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I am very happy with the artwork and one more sculpture for our town. More people will have the opportunity to see it on the trail, and it's been well thought out idea. And I hope it will bring more people to the church as well. Yes, it can only be good for the church and for the surrounding area there. So I will definitely be supporting it, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Livings. Anybody else want to comment? No. In that case, members, if we could move to the vote. All those in favour of recommendations 1 to 3 and informative 1 on pages 57 and 58 of the agenda paper. And against? That is substantially carried. Thank you very much. So that brings us close to the end of the agenda. Agenda item 11, references from other committees, there are none, and 12, matters of urgent business, there are none. I'd therefore like to thank you all for your attendance this evening, and I will see you all next month.